AtGames may have been removed from the Sega Genesis Mini project, but they've got something else up their sleeves.
Say it ain't so, Shane.
Yeah, they're coming back with a new console.
Hot take.
Just coming off the heels of Sega not really wanting to work with AtGames, AtGames has made an announcement just now, basically, that they are going to be releasing an entirely new console themselves.
What a coincidence. They get fired from working on the Sega Genesis Mini, and then, like, a couple days later, they wind up bringing out a console that kind of looks like an old Genesis console that they made.
No, let's just talk about this. On the last episode, if you're watching us, we actually showed off a box that we had. So we've opened up the box to show you what this console looks like. Now, I'm going to flash up an image of what the new AtGames system looks like here. So as you can see, it's got two very similarly designed looking Sega Genesis controllers. I mean, these look exactly the other ones, but the system itself is near identical to this one.
Yes.
So this one has a cartridge slot on the top here for Sega Genesis games, but this new one just gets rid of that.
Yeah.
That seems to be it.
Why would you need that? Because within this new system, you got 50 legendary games.
Yes, you do. I am just...
I just want to throw this in the trash. Look at this. This is the face of someone. Do you see the two eyes in the mouth? This is the face of someone who's been playing this console. Stop me!
So it is really...
So we jest, right?
Yes.
So, okay, if you haven't watched our other videos about AtGames, they don't make the best hardware in the world. And people, the reason why Sega basically wound up cutting the connection with AtGames with the Genesis Mini was because, in the past they've not proven themselves as good hardware manufacturers. So when they announce something like this, how do you feel? What comes to mind?
I remember all the problems I had with the AtGames systems I've used in the past. Now, just this one, we are going to do a video about this eventually, but we had tried to do one in the past, and there was just a lot of problems. So
I believe Shane said that we tried to do a video in the past, and it was so bad that we didn't know exactly how to approach it.
Yes,
was
so
what I heard.
So yeah, that's essentially what happened. So basically, this controller connects wirelessly to this console. However, how it does it is through an IR blaster on the top of the controller at the front of the console. So that means that there is no Bluetooth connectivity here. You have to be in line of sight with this thing in order for the wireless to work. That means that sometimes the inputs will actually hang up, and they'll remember the last input. So let's say you're moving forward and the thing removes sight or whatever, then the character just keeps on moving forward in the game.
Right.
It's a very poor connectivity method.
Sometimes you try to input a button press and it just won't read that press at all.
Yes, that's true.
Which is a big issue.
On the top here, you've got a little switch that switches between player 1 and player 2. That means that if both people are set to player 1, you're actually both controlling the same player 1 input.
And we can't forget the other great sort of item here, the fact that the battery compartment, you have to unscrew to take out the batteries and then replace them, which is just wonderful. Okay, the controllers with this new device are wired.
Yeah.
Hey!
So that's an improvement.
It's already an improvement. So no batteries.
No batteries. This is a good thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Hopefully none of the weird sort of input problems with the buttons.
That's what we hope, okay? These controllers were not like the best design controllers in the world, but to have them wired, that's a big deal. Now, another thing, too, that's also an improvement, and I know people are probably not going to agree with me on this, the Genesis slot on the top here, not having that, kind of important. Without the Genesis slot, they can actually just focus on making the games run properly instead of doing the strange cartridge running thing that they did on here, which didn't work out too well. When you just start this game up naturally without a game inside of it, it just runs Genesis games. However, the Genesis games were kind of a mixed bag of stuff that didn't run very well and sort of ran even worse. So having this thing basically means that they're not just focusing on Genesis games, so there's a chance that the games are going to run better.
Well, I think that after what happened with Sega, we're not going to be seeing a Genesis slot anytime soon on an AtGames device. Well, if Sega has anything to do with it, at least. Okay, so you want me to tell you a little bit more about the features this thing has? I wrote them down in a little list. So this features, like I said, 50 legendary built-in games. Some of these games include Tetris, Galaga, 1942, Burger Time, Dig Dug, Ghouls and Ghosts, Mega Man, Super Street Fighter 2, Mappy, and Rally X.
Are these arcade versions of these games?
I have no idea.
Yes, so that is going to be a thing. We don't know what versions of these games that are being put onto this system. I'm hoping they're arcade versions.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, me too.
We've seen Retrobit create arcade version consoles as well too. We've actually covered them on Rerez in the past.
Yeah. The first one was okay. The second one was a little bit better, right?
The first one was bad. The second one was good. Yeah, this is like, let me make that clear. Retrobit is a really cool company. They do a lot of really interesting things. That first system they released, I think, was kind of rushed to match the NES Classic.
Yeah.
But the second one, actually a good system, very worthwhile getting. If you've ever seen one in the anywhere out there, I would recommend picking it up because there's a lot of games on it that are really fun to play.
Okay. So features, 50 built-in games. Next, it is primed for maximum family fun. Did you know that, Shane?
No, what does that mean?
I have no idea. It includes 2 6-button controls that are definitely in no way knockoffs of the 6-button Genesis controllers.
Well, actually, they might not be because, see, there's a menu button on here and there's a start button. On the one image that we saw of this thing, this new one, there's only a start button, which means that they're probably going to have to map the select button to X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, which is weird because we know that Mega Man's going to be on it.
Yeah.
Right?
So you might need a select button. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's going to be some way they go about this where they set things up. Personally, I think it would have been smarter for them to have a select and a start button in the center of this controller because it's just easier for people to, figure that stuff out. But whatever, this is their console, not mine. Okay, so also in this, it's going to be an HDMI console. This one is not. Definitely not. Right. Now, AtGames has made HDMI-based systems in the past. We will, in the future, be covering one. I'm okay with this. I actually like HDMI out. I think this is a nice thing to see. My hope is that the games are being run at around 720p resolution instead of being upscaled. It is. They announced it's 720p resolution, so we should be able to get those beautiful little sprites with the squares, our pixels, pixel perfection. I want to make this very clear too. At the time that this system was released, and there's a couple of other ones like this too from AtGames, they were trying to get a lot of technology fit into smaller boxes, and it's been years now. So tech has improved, things have improved, so possibly their design process has also improved. There is a good chance that this can be good, right? If they're not focusing on just one system that they're trying to kind of do a billion things at once, just focusing on 50 games could be really smart. Right, yeah. And hopefully most of them are arcade games, but we are seeing some, it looks like some NES games as well. Well, I think like with this system here, there's more than 50 games on it. So that's like a problem because you have to play 50 games, you have to play more than 50 games and kind of make sure everything's running the way it should be. So you have to compare it to its original and stuff like that. Now, what I like about this system is that there's a couple of arcade games in there, and if they are the original arcade releases, that's a big deal because I like to see arcade releases get released home. This is a great way for people to play them. Now, with all those positive things said, let's talk a little bit about what could go wrong with this system. Well, just about everything, Shane. Yeah, just about everything. Well, because like I said, AtGames has not proven themselves. They haven't emulated things well. They haven't made hardware that works all that well. I mean, okay, some people can vouch for some of what they've done with the Atari units, supposedly, but I don't know, man. It's like 1 out of every 10 consoles that they've made has performed the way that it says it will. And that's the problem, right? I know a lot of folks out there that are watching know about AtGames and know what they're all about, but I really feel that with this system, there's a lot to be kind of worried about. Now, personally, what I would do is I would wait to see some reviews appear online from a whole bunch of different sources. There's clearly going to be some people out there that are going to want to get this thing specifically because there's some classic system games on there or arcade games on there. For me personally, there's a Street Fighter game on there. Now, this is cool because remember, we're getting a 6-button controller. If we're getting a 6-button controller, that means you should be able to play Street Fighter the proper way. Yes, but if the 6-button controller, if the D-pad feels anything like this D-pad, you might have some issues. Yes. The controller doesn't feel all that great, and I don't know if they're going to really deviate from their previous designs all that much. Like, why would they have to? Unless they really do want to gain favor with people again. Maybe they have been listening to folks that are saying, hey, your hardware isn't working. Yeah, I mean, that's really the problem here. We don't really know enough about this thing yet, but hopefully we'll be getting one of these systems in at some point so we can cover it when it comes out. But I am strangely optimistic. typically the companies that have given out their licenses to this company, you really wouldn't see them doing that like willy-nilly. Like a lot of them are kind of protective of their stuff, especially Capcom to a degree.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've seen it done improperly.
Right.
But I really feel like at least we're going to see those core games work well. Because remember, they're only saying 50 games. For all we know, it's just 10 games everybody knows, and then 40 games that are just kind of random remix of things that don't really have an established presence.
I did see a broader list of what's going to be on this console, and it does look pretty good, but I believe these companies have been licensing out their IP more and more recently, and I think a little more frivolously. So Namco, Capcom, Data East, Acclaim.
Well, Tetris.
Yeah.
Tetris is a weird one. You usually don't see Tetris do that often.
Because Tetris has been linked to Sega for so long, right?
Right. So what kind of version of Tetris is this? Now, this is an original Tetris game property. Does this mean we're getting a unique version of Tetris on here? Are we getting one that was released in arcades originally?
Giant Tetris?
Yeah, we're definitely not seeing the NES Tetris.
We're not getting giant Tetris on this.
I would love that, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious about this. But folks, what do you think? Yeah. Are you excited about what AtGames is doing here? Are you hoping that maybe they can kind of like just bring some kind of amazing quality to game systems? Or are you kind of nervous that basically it kind of looks like they just took this and changed the top off of it?
I think our advice: wait for the reviews.
Yeah,
don't pre-order this thing or buy it willy-nilly. We'll wait until people start talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
hopefully. Anyway, folks, let us know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, we're just kind of curious about this. And what games would you like to see on the system that haven't been announced yet? Let us know.